What about you? Do you find it visible? When I say the name, Dickus. Dickus?
Movies and series shape our understanding of medieval history more than any other medium. However, the filmmakers' creative choices often determine how to portray the times, and language is undoubtedly one of them. So in this video, we will examine the accurate description of the medieval languages and how much our favorite movies and series deviate from them. When you have a spare minute, watch the whole scene. In the 13th Warrior, Antonio Banderas learns the language of the Norsemen very quickly, but they also cleverly show what the process looks like. Understanding words and phrases from the context just to insult the group. Worth it.
Pig-eating son of a whore. No. Come.
Not every filmmaker is as truthful or cares about recreating languages, but let's compare some other movies. We start with Old English and how it sounded. And according to Britannica, people spoke and wrote Old English in England before 1100s. It is the ancestor of Middle English and Modern English.
That him aig wilch thara umsetindra over hron rade huran shulde gomban yildan.
And some movies and series tried to recreate it.
We'll do that, brother Athelstan. You saw what they'll hit. It's like a man's tattoo hit Kasawa. Yes, brother. It's hit Kasawa.
But most use the modern-ish way of speaking.
Where's my son? Uhtred! Take half a dozen men right to the river. There are pagans there. You watch them, see how many there are.
Of course, Father.
Do nothing more, you understand?
Yes, Father.
As we can hear, Old English is hard to understand. Some series like the Vikings include it, but with subtitles.
Wat gode menn. Hur ser fjorden ner till fjärd?
We send Northmen.
Kupermen.
Jeza, Cooperman, Jeza.
Elwen also sings in Old English during Theodred's funeral in Lord of the Rings 2 Towers. So it's quite understandable why we use modern English in historical films like The King or The Last Kingdom. So the next one is the Old French. French is a mix of different languages. Latin, brought to the region by the Roman Empire, laid the foundations for the language. However, Gaulish, the native language spoken by the Gauls who inhabited France, continued to have a significant influence, especially in rural areas.
Por Dieu amor, et por Christian pueblo, et nostre commun salvament.
Ma fille.
Qu'est-ce que disent mes pères, tel Bestaille ne prendrait mis à père. Fille de grand lignage suis, nom de folle pute garçonnière.
They would open their gates to you, my liege, but they would first discuss terms.
And as we move on to non-English depictions, we move into a classic Hollywood trick, using an accent on English dialogue to indicate that the characters are speaking a foreign language without, actually speaking a forein language.
Well, I'll ask him, but I don't think he'll be very keen. He's already got one, you see?
What?
In Joan of Arc, we have a French one, of course.
Who are you?
I'm His Most Gracious Majesty Charles de Valois, Dauphin of France.
Let's look at Roman Latin next. So Latin was used as lingua franca in Europe for centuries. It became the standard language for communication between countries that did not speak each other's language.
Hodie de lorica segmentata loquemur. Per nomen ipsum incipiemus, lorica segmentata.
Caesar sanctae urbis Romae Augustus, novum legatum ad Germania misit, senatorem publium quintilium varum.
Shall we show him, Father, how it pleased you to deal with your adversaries? When you were in your magnificent prime?
Roman Latin is mostly used in depictions of religious ceremonies like Mass rather than for dialogue in movies. And we just tend to get the English with RP accent. Old Norse language is next, spoken from the Baltic Sea in the east to Greenland in the west. It's considered to be around 3,000 years old. It is the oldest and most influential of all dialects that are part of Indo-European root.
Vet ek at ek hek, vinga med i år, näter allar nio.
Porredetan mjölkväljor.
Goner jock. Good friends, tonight, on St. Bryce's Day, we say goodbye to my baby brother, Prince Harald Sigurdsson.
In series like Vikings, we get some Old Norse from time to time, right? But most of the time we get Scandinavian-like accents when the actors use English.
Why would they leave such treasures unprotected? Is there some spell or some magic which protects them?
It appears not.
Let's move into my familiar territory, Old East Slavic and how it sounded in the past. Old East Slavic is more accurate term than just Old Russian because it describes the origins of modern Russian, Belarusian, Ukrainian rather than just Russian.
Адувалося, одино ногами топотало, а другою рогома було.
Безитня дочері сіверського вітру! Несите няня з землі предков моїх чад!
Опять замахал. Его палку к жерновам привязать. Кто-то пауки намолол.
There's another scene from Vikings, and according to the descriptions, the characters speak the Old East Slavic, even though they deliver the lines like in modern Russian.
Сквозь стены свет видит, яко тут жена, а не едина. Табо воистину жена его.
An interesting one, right? Old High German. So monks and scholars try to preserve the Central European language through poetry. However, many records have been destroyed.
The old couldn't go through je frag nun. Who they are, other linga, Ellen framtun.
There are many scenes that I could find, but the barbarian from Gladiator at least attempts to shout in the Old Germanic language. However, according to Reddit, it's low effort and it's just a mix of Germanic languages, not accurate at all. Let's look at Old Irish now, one of the oldest historical languages in the world, closely related to Scottish and Manx Gaelic.
Mieshe ogus pangurban, Kechtar nather friasan jan, Bietha mien vsev friselg.
Stamad Romana ka hug me rasht an Valiagam. Marcus, Flavius, Aquila. Ach, Nero Kyan Ergwinia Erkerbe.
I don't know what wizardry this man has. Let one of his followers be tested to see whether it is indeed this god he talks about, or Patrick himself who has these powers.
Again, in these historical dramas, the filmmakers revert to modern English with an accent, or in this circumstance, present-day Irish. Let's see if I can understand any of it. Many old Polish words are still alive in idioms, and it's the only Slavic language that preserved ancient nasal vowels o and e.
I że jest dobra, i rozdzielił światłość ode ćmy, i nazwał jest światłość dniem, a ćmy noca.
Czołem waszmością! Tapliński, parchoł i zabijaka to największy chmielnickiego wróg.
The Old Polish is difficult to grasp, I can maybe understand it from the context of what is being said rather than single words. And in movies, in TV series, we are served a modern way of speaking with some archaic expressions and words sprinkled throughout to add that vibe to the dialogues.
Tam nasi są, rodowi, co ich do grodu wzięli. Nie będą swojaków bić! Ja mam tam dwóch!
Alright, but how can we accurately recreate the sounds of ancient languages when we have no audio recordings? Okay, today, even by looking at variations of English, we have American, British, Scottish, Australian, South African. Like, I can't know how they sound unless I hear them.
Bottle of water.
So I assume all languages also had different dialects and variations. How can we know how they really sounded? Well, we have to ask a philologist.
Listen, Tolkien, you absolute clown.
So, before recording this video, I always thought linguistics was the study of languages, but actually, philology is the study of languages from historical sources and how they developed over time. And because we don't have audio recordings, historians have to rely on text and linguistic analysis. So it sounds incredibly difficult because language evolves over time and space, right?
Inside the classical banks are liveried messengers with top hats.
And he wants to create something of a similar scale in the UK.
Latin and Greek changed over centuries. Pronunciations varied too, so there were different dialects. When someone says, oh well, this is how ancient Latin sounded like, what was the region, right? What was the period? And one thing that helps is linguistic descriptions. For example, Plato described the pronunciation of Greek letters, which helps. Comparative linguistics, which involves comparing and studying a few languages simultaneously, helps to understand each language's evolution and features, especially with related languages. Studying poetry can help identify sound patterns and vowel lengths, and even spelling errors help spot changes in language's system. Orthography is the correct spelling of words, so changes over time can help in deducing pronunciations. Plus, we have borrowed words from Greek to Latin, and now in modern times, with the advancement of the internet and American cultural hegemony, these words make their way into other languages. You wouldn't believe how many American English borrowed words are in modern Polish, all thanks to Generation TikTok.
What's it like to hold the yacht of someone you love? Riz.
Riz.
Did they teach you how to feel? Sigma to sigma. Riz.
Riz.
So in short, there are stable and conservative writing systems that help. There are established values from other languages, works on phonology like the first grammatical treatise from 12th century Iceland. The topic is deep, right? And if you're interested to watch these YouTube videos, I'll put them in the description. The authors describe the techniques of studying it, like triangulating the dialects and old texts on languages, and looking at the development of the vowel and studying the relationship between related languages. So why do most medieval period movies have modern languages? Especially because other aspects, the clothing, the scenery, the locations are often kept as true to historical descriptions as possible. Well, the most obvious reasons are audience accessibility, understanding, and practicality. So the sets, weapons, the hair give us the vibe of the story and the old age. Modern language and the accents make the stories relatable and easy to understand for the present audience. So we can easily follow what is happening on the screen and, spare the subtitles, although many of us choose to put on subtitles anyway due to the sound mix, but okay, that's the topic for another video. There are budget restraints and constraints and practicality. As we heard, medieval languages are nothing like our current way of speaking, so it would be impractical to ask actors to learn new ways of speaking or a new language completely, right? A few sentences here and there are okay, but things like translations and researchers cost money. Audiences don't mind the modern language as long as the other things like sets and clothes look right. We also have artistic interpretations and creative expression. Movies and series, even historic ones, they aren't documentaries, and filmmakers often blend accuracy with their vision for the story. Modern language and using different accents and dialects highlight contrast between different groups, but also can draw parallels between the medieval setting.
Majesty's third poll tax in 3 years. What else could we expect, eh?
And today's issues.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
So it's easier for us to identify what is happening on the screen, and language helps, even if it's just reimagining medieval speech. So personally, I think that using modern day speech sprinkled with some old-sounding words and phrases is justified in visual storytelling, especially when we are talking about reimagined stories. But even in docu-series like Rise of Empires or Age of Samurai, being 100% accurate could make the storytelling worse and not as engaging.
一族を率いることはない。
Merhaba Mzabe, my old friend. An unexpected surprise.
So I guess I'm up for making it sound easier to digest, but I also do appreciate when they give us, a few scenes here and there with original language so we can hear how it really sounded. Like, all in all, it's about telling a good story, whatever means necessary. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe if you wish to do so.
To masz pan za panną płaczesz. A ładna była.